Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frost. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, joined by the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we will be previewing the New Japan Road and Honor Rising, as well as covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns at socialsuplex.com. Go to socialsuplex.com/subscribe to sign up to get all the podcasts and columns delivered directly to your email inbox. This episode of Keeping It Strong Style is brought to you by Powerslam.tv. Powerslam.tv is an independent wrestling streaming service with over 4,000 hours of independent wrestling from companies across the world. Use promo code SOCIALSUPLEX to get your month free. Also, check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. They have a President's Day sale running from today through Wednesday. Use the promo code PREZ, that's PRZ, promo code PREZ to get 20% off of your order. And just want to thank everybody who's gotten Social Suplex t-shirts so far. Take advantage of that 20% off on Pro Wrestling Tees. All right, young boy, how you doing this week, man?
Yo, I'm feeling tired, dude. I don't know. Like, been in the gym, clanging and banging. I've been trying to be a good guy, like Tama Tonga.
How's that working out for you?
I thought it was fine, and then, like, this weekend hit, and now I'm exhausted, and I'm like, I don't want to pay my taxes.
Oh, my God.
I don't want to get up early. I don't want to be responsible.
You don't want to be an adult?
No. I want to sit at home and watch New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Dude,
like,
becoming an adult's like the biggest work there is.
It's completely a work. Yeah. Yeah. Or is it a shoot? Is it a work shoot?
I think the idea of wanting to become an adult, what it's portrayed as, is
it's a gimmick.
Yeah, it's a gimmick.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
Yep.
But speaking of gimmicks, let's get into some wrestling talk. So we have 2 shows, actually, well, technically 3 shows coming up this week. We have the New Japan Road, and we have 2 Honor Rising shows on the 22nd and the 23rd. So we're going to preview both of those, give some predictions, and then we'll cover some news after that. So let's start with the New Japan Road. This is Takashi Iisuka's retirement show. Are you going to miss Iisuka?
Goodbye, Iisuka. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. See ya. Iisuka. Let's go. Let's get this review going because I'm ready for Iisuka to Get the FOH.
You ready for him to move around, move along.
Move. Iska, get out the way. Get out the way. Iska, get out the way.
Oh, my gosh. So, New Japan Road will be airing on Thursday, February 21st. We got the opening contest with Yuya Uemura teaming up with Jushin Thunder Liger to take on the Bullet Club team of Robbie Eagles and the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori.
So, yeah, interesting. We've got the return to the New Japan Pro Ring for Robbie Eagles, which I think the last time we saw him was during the Junior Tag Tournament, essentially, right?
Yep, during the Power Struggle Tour.
So I know a lot of people have been kind of asking, where Robbie Eagles stood in the spectrum of things with New Japan. And so I think we can kind of chalk it up to him probably being a reoccurring junior, sort of like an ACH type character, or Dragon Lee. And who knows? I mean, this is a great chance for him to kind of make a second first impression for fans.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah, because I mean, I personally wasn't overly, impressed with him during the previous tour that he was on.
Same here, and I think part of the reason why we were not impressed was because he's getting all this hype. He's the Will Ospreay of Australia. He's an amazing high flyer. He's this awesome worker. Then you see him in the Super Junior Tag League, and you're like, he's all right.
Yeah, I mean, he was okay, and I mean, everybody's got to learn and grow. I mean, Will Ospreay wasn't always Will Ospreay, except he kind of was. Like, yeah, he's improved, but like from day one, if you ever watched Will Ospreay, even when it was like super, rudimentary, or like when he was a very raw talent, you could kind of see that. Robbie Eagles, I've seen him have great matches before, so I'm not discounting him, but you kind of, at this point, like, you bring him in and you give him an opportunity to kind of showcase himself on that stage, and, I don't think that he really capitalized on that. Now, I will say, him and Ishimori had a very good tag match during the Junior Tag League against the team of Liger and Tiger Mask, and remember, they beat him with that figure four. That actually, you know what? That was a reverse figure four, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the Tanahashi tap out that they beat him with at the time. I knew there was someone that did that, and I was trying to remember who it was, and I think it was these guys that had done that. But, yeah, I'm glad that came to me right live on the air. But there's some of that kind of being played up here. Also, obviously, the next title feud for the IWGP Junior title, the next junior title feud that's going on is Liger and Ishimori, so this is probably going to build to that.
Right, yeah. Ishimori called out Liger at the end of the New Beginning in Osaka. Liger has accepted the challenge. The match is official for the anniversary tour, so yeah, definitely this match is going to be building that up. Anytime,
anywhere.
Yeah.
He told Ishimori, you're going to regret calling me out.
Dude, Liger wants to smoke anytime, any place. He's ready. He's got the shoteis locked and loaded.
Yeah, but obviously here, I'm going to say, we've got Yuya Uemura out there for a reason. So, I think it's pretty clear that Ishimori and Robbie Eagles are going to pick up the pinfall victory here. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing what, Robbie kind of brings to the table. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think Eagles will be getting the fall or submission here over Uemura.
Yep, I agree.
Then we got the second matchup here. We got Tiger Mask, Toa Hanare, Tomioka Honma, and Togi Makabe taking on Yota Tsuji, Ren Narita, Manobu Nakanishi, and Satoshi Kojima.
Yeah, so this is pretty eclectic group here. You've got a lot of the old timers, plus some of the young lions and Toa Hanare. I mean, what are your thoughts here?
It's an interesting mix here. A lot of New Japan dads, a lot of the top young lions here. It's going to be an interesting mix. It's definitely going to be a kind of a test for Tsuji and Narita going against kind of that more of experienced team over there on the left. I think it's going to be a good chance for Toa Hanare to shine as well. We've been seeing him against Young Lions, and he's been kind of excelling and kind of getting better in those matches as well.
Didn't he lose a match to Young Lions on the previous tour?
Yeah, I believe it was a team of him and Tenzan. They lost to, I believe, Umino and Ayato Yoshida, I believe.
Yeah, he got beat.
Did he get beat, or did... Wait, yeah, he got pinned, right?
I'm trying to remember.
But yeah, I know his team lost.
Yeah, so that's something that's been somewhat surprising to me is, Henare is a guy that we kind of have been expecting to, sort of excel and kind of ascend up in the rankings here. And it's kind of weird because you look at these two matchups and on the one hand, I could see him easily being the person picking up the pinfall victory. But if someone on his team was going to lose, he's the most likely. I mean, I could see him eating like a Western Lariat from Kojima and that being all she wrote. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, where are we with Henare when it comes to everything?
I don't know. I still think he's in that kind of development stage. He's a great hand in the ring. I just think he needs a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more experience. I definitely think he could benefit from a little mini excursion. Maybe send him over to Ring of Honor. A lot of New Japan talent are working there this year.
Maybe he could go to CMLL.
Yeah, or go to Rev Pro, something. I think he needs a little something added to him. There's a little something missing.
You think maybe it's the gimmick?
Maybe, but I've kind of gotten over that because remember we used to hate the Henare gimmick when it first started.
Right.
But I'm kind of fine with it now. But maybe he does need something a little bit better.
I don't think it's necessarily that the gimmick is something egregious to where I'm like, okay, like this is trash. I don't want to watch it. It's not that. But at the same time, it's not a gimmick that a top guy would have. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's not that like it doesn't...
Like I could never see Toa Henare being the IWGP champion with this gimmick.
I mean, right now as things stand, I couldn't see him being any sort of champion with this gimmick. And that might be the issue.
Mm. You don't not even a never title run
right now?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Well, yeah.
Not when Will Ospreay's the champion.
True, that's true. Yeah, I forgot that the never title is kind of elevated right now. And of course, I'm expecting Mean Tiger Mask in this match to just be going wild on Narita and Tsuji. We've seen Tiger Mask just take out his anger and frustration on these young boys, so that should be fun. And then, of course, we have the kind of a little reuniting once again of Honma and Makabe. I think I'm gonna go with Toa Henare hitting the Toa bottom on Yota Tsuji to get the win for his team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Tsuji and Henare kind of interact once again. That's always good. This should be fine and pretty entertaining for what it is. But I am expecting, Togi Makabe's team to pick up the victory somehow, some way. I'm sure Yota Tsuji will be the one eating the pinfall.
Yeah. So next up we have Shota Umino teaming up with Yuji Nagata to take on the Chaos team of Yoshihashi and Tomohiro Ishii.
Interesting teams. I mean, we've seen Umino and Nagata team up before. That Lionsgate project connection between them, so that's not that surprising. But Ishii and Yoshihashi, huh?
That's an interesting team. Obviously Yano, he's now 1/3 of the Never 6-man champions, and he's been teaming with Makabe more than he has Ishii in the last several months. So it's interesting that they've kind of put Ishii with a new Chaos guy, Yoshihashi.
I think they picked the wrong one. We wanted Goto guys.
Oh man.
So there's that. But I don't know. This could deliver though.
Yeah, I mean, Umino has been looking great in his tag matches over the last few tours. Definitely getting better, and he has Nagata. He's up there in age, but he's a guy that can still go out there, have a good match, fires up, wrestles that strong style.
The interesting thing is we were supposed to get Nagata and Tomohiro Ishii on the USA shows last month, and that obviously never happened due to the visa issues. So it is interesting that they are kind of continuing that, and I guess we're going to start to get some sort of payoff when it comes to this feud essentially. And I mean, maybe this might still lead to that singles match that I was really excited about at the time.
Yeah, dude, I thought that could be a great match. Potential strong style fight of the year candidate for our year-end awards. Hopefully that match will come back around.
I mean, I really loved the. I know it's been a few years now, but I love the Nagata and what's wrong with me? Who did he wrestle for the Never title a few years ago? He He runs the LA Dojo. The Shibata match. Oh my God, guys, I am tired tonight. I'm not.
I couldn't help you on that one because I have not seen that match.
Yeah, the Nagata Shibata series was really, really, really good, and I think aside from that, and then Nagata had his final G1 run. It's been a while since we've seen him in a prolonged singles program. So I think him and Ishii could really do wonders for Ishii at this point. With him kind of being on the back burner ever since his title challenge to Kenny Omega. He kind of hasn't done much since then. So this is a good way to kind of elevate him and put him in something kind of meaningful while he's waiting.
Yeah. And I see Yoshihashi hitting the Karma here on Umino, and then you kind of leave Nagata and Ishii not being the ones getting falls on them.
I'm just impressed right now that you know what Yoshihashi's finishers are even called. That's super impressive, man.
I'm a moves nerd, regardless of who it is, so I like knowing them.
That's impressive, man. I'm gonna put you over, big brother.
So what are you thinking? You thinking?
Oh yeah. I mean, they got a young lion there, so Umino's definitely taking the pinfall, one way or the other. You're probably right. He's probably gonna hit the Karma, or as we like to say, the Awesome Kong, on Umino. Get him out of there for the 1, 2, 3.
So then next up, we have the number one contenders for the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions, Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo, taking on El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
Yeah, so this is something that's been, kind of been going on for a while now. Desperado and Kanemaru, taking the titles off Sho and Yo a little over, about a year ago.
Yeah.
And then they just dropped those titles at Wrestle Kingdom. So we've got basically the top two teams outside of LIJ kind of squaring off. They got a lot of history here. And Sho and Yo were the last, team to kind of make their presence felt and place a challenge to LIJ. So in my mind, this almost is gonna serve as like a de facto number one contender match at this point.
I mean, you could say that, but I mean, it's already been official that Roppongi 3K will be facing LIJ at the 47th anniversary show.
Gotcha.
So they already have their title match locked. I mean, I guess if Desperado and Kanemaru win here, they could insert themselves and we get we get another triple threat match between these teams. But I don't think it's going to happen here. I think Sho and Yo are finally going to get their big win against these guys because remember they've been chasing these guys all of 2018 and never really got that big win over them. So I think Sho and Yo will get the big win here, and that will give them momentum heading into the anniversary show against Bushi and Shingo.
Yeah, and I mean, you do never know. I mean, if Suzuki-gun was to pick up some sort of win, then maybe that gives them leverage for a future, shot at Sho and Yo, provided they end up winning the belts, on the next at the next big show. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with you. I do agree. I think it's time for Roppongi 3K to at least get a title shot and do it, separated from Suzuki-gun entirely and kind of get them out of the picture for the time being. So, Sho and Yo. What's the move that Sho does? The package pile driver?
Yeah, the shock arrow.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to hit a shock arrow on Kanemaru, and that'll probably be it.
Yeah.
Either that or Yo will get some sort of crazy roll-up.
Or they'll hit the 3K.
Yeah, or it could be that.
So, next up we have Ryusuke Taguchi teaming up with Hiroki Goto to take on the team of Takamichi Nohu and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, so we got Taguchi kind of rebounding from his loss on the last tour to Taiji Ishimori at the New Beginning in Osaka. He unsuccessfully challenged for the IWGP Junior title. Goto, what's Goto been up to? I mean, we've kind of been waiting. He wasn't on the last tour because he was supposed to be in the USA, right?
Right. So yeah, Goto really hasn't done much. I mean, he was in the Never 6-Man Gauntlet at Wrestle Kingdom.
Hoodie Goto.
Yeah, Hoodie Goto.
Yeah, so we had Hoodie Goto, and then Taka Michinoku, the recent resignee of Michinoku Pro, kind of making his return with Zack Sabre Jr. And this should be interesting. I think it's real interesting that we got Goto and Zack Sabre kind of squaring off. Zack Sabre obviously lost a singles match to Evil not too long ago, so it's kind of like he's a little bit on the downside.
And they also lost the tag title match.
Yep, they did. So kind of regrouping a bit. Goto's kind of regrouping. I mean, all these guys essentially are, especially Taka.
Yeah.
So I mean, this one's real. It's like a crossroads match, somewhat.
And I could see Goto and Sabre potentially maybe having a match in the New Japan Cup, and maybe this match is to help tease things for that, maybe potentially. But I think Sabre, they want to heat him back up, get him back on track. I could see Sabre tapping out Taguchi here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. This one's a little bit more up in the air, I gotta say though. I mean, Taka is there to take pinfalls, so I mean that could really be what happens here.
Yeah, and Taguchi is 1/3 of the Never Six-Man champions, so maybe it's Taka eating a Ushigoroshi and a GTR.
That would make sense to me, but out of the two, I do feel like, they had Zach lose a couple matches in a row. It's time to maybe rehab him just a little bit, just ever so slightly. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does pick up the windfall or, the pinfall here. Maybe a Zach driver on Taguchi.
Yeah. Or, yeah, Zach driver or one of his crazy named submission holds.
Possibly.
So the next match, I'm very interested in this one. We have the dream team of the never openweight champion, Will Ospreay, teaming up with the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, to take on Killer Elite Squad, Davey Boy Smith Jr., and Lance Archer.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. So, Tanahashi just recently dropped the IWGP heavyweight belt to Switchblade Jay White. We haven't really seen Will Ospreay since New Year's Dash, so he's kind of been overseas doing his thing. So kind of making his return. Sort of the same thing with Killer Elite Squad. They were not on the last tour, so they didn't really have. They had a successful, World Tag League, but they were not factored into the finals or anything like that.
Right. Davey Boy Smith Jr. has been spending a lot of time in MLW. Him and Teddy Hart are now the MLW Tag Team Champions. So that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting match. I mean, when you're looking at what this hypothetically could be, you've got, two single stars taking on one of the most established, heavyweight tag teams in the division. And so it really begs the question, what is this for and what is it going to lead to?
Exactly, because on one hand, you would say, well, Killer Elite is the established tag team, so potentially they should win. But they're going against Ospreay and Tanahashi, the recently former IWGP heavyweight champion and the current never openweight champion. I have a hard time seeing either one of those guys taking a fall from KES.
Well, I mean, if you remember, the last time we saw Ospreay and Tanahashi teaming up in action was in that fantastic match from December where they took on the Golden Lovers, R.I.P. Yeah, this is really interesting. I kind of thought that'd be the only time we saw Ospreay and Tanahashi team up. And so, because that was playing into the singles feuds going into Wrestle Kingdom. So I am a bit surprised that Ospreay and Tanahashi are teaming up once again. And, everyone's kind of wondering what's next for Tanahashi, what's next for Ospreay. We're not really getting a clue here or anything like that. They're instead putting them in a pretty high-profile tag team spot. And, I mean, you have to imagine Ospreay and Tanahashi need to pick up the win, but I don't know, man. I got this weird feeling like maybe they need to reestablish Killer Elite Squad here.
Right. And I mean, Tanahashi is still, I'm sure, going to be selling the knee injury for the match with Jay White. So yeah, who knows what, I mean, yeah, could they potentially pin Tanahashi?
The one thing I did think about, and I don't know if it would happen or not, but what if this were to hypothetically lead to some sort of miscommunication or something of that nature, and they build into Ospreay Tanahashi off this?
Oh, wow. Did not think about that. That would be awesome.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's just a really precarious teaming. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be one of those things where it's just two guys and it doesn't, teaming, and it doesn't mean anything particular.
Or could it be that all four of these guys are going to be in the New Japan Cup? and we're going to tease some matches that we'll see there.
That's a possibility as well, yeah. I mean, we don't have a full list of competitors for that yet, do we?
No, the bracket's not out. Knowing New Japan, they'll wait until after I hit publish, and they'll they'll release the brackets after that. But I mean, these guys, Dave Boy Smith, Lance Archer traditionally have been New Japan Cup, as well as Tanahashi. Ospreay, he is a champion right now. We don't know exactly what the rules are of the New Japan Cup yet, but seeing as how they've already announced that, the winner is going to get an IWGP title shot, they could open the field and put all the champions in there. So this could potentially be Ospreay's first New Japan Cup this year. All 4 of these guys could be in the tournament, and this could be a way to tease it.
What's your gut instinct here? Where are you going with this?
I'm going to go with the team of Ospreay and Tanahashi winning. I'm not sure who gets the fall, but I'm going to go with those guys getting the win.
Am I crazy for feeling like Tanahashi might eat a killer bomb?
I don't think so. I mean, Killer Elite Squad, if they got to establish those guys, and Tanahashi is coming off of a title match where he was heavily attacked. That knee was heavily attacked and injured, so he's not coming into this match 100%.
That's all true. However, I still got to ride with the ace, so I'm assuming Lance Archer is going to take some sort of pinfall here, and we will go from there, yeah?
Yeah. Then we have the main event of the evening, the Takashi Iisuka retirement match. We have Toru Yano, Hiroshi Tenzan, and Kazuchika Okada taking on the team of Taichi, Minoru Suzuki, and Takashi Iisuka.
What a match. What a lineup.
What an epic main event.
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of teases for the past month or so. Tenzan tried desperately to appeal to Iisuka's past and their past as, being a former tag team during the Dark Ages, and trying to get the true Iisuka, his true self, to come out and break the spell of being this crazy wild man. And I think he either wanted to have a match with him or team with him in his retirement match. Evidently, that didn't work out, as we saw Iisuka kind of blast him with a steel chair during the last interaction they had. So now we end up with this match, Yano and Okada teaming up with Tenzan to take on Iisuka, Suzuki, and Taichi. And I think it's, I think it's going to be entertaining for what it is.
Yeah, I think, definitely. They're going to use all the smoke, all the mirrors, all the shenanigans, all the gimmicks, and make this one kind of a fun little match here. I think I'm seeing Okada hitting the Rainmaker on Iisuka, send him packing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I think the conclusion is not really that hard to predict. Very rarely, if ever, do they do like the big swan song moment where someone's retiring and they get a big victory. There's only so many Inokis that can have their Inoki moment in New Japan. The good booking has typically seen these older retiring wrestlers put over the younger talent. So with that being said, I'm sure Okada will probably pick up a victory here or something to that nature. I think the big question, the big story is, how is everything that's been happening between Iisuka and Tenzan going to play out?
Right. I'm wondering post-match if something's going to happen where Iisuka finally reunites with Tenzan.
Well, there's even been things online where Tenzan's been visiting this like a Shinto shrine or something like that, and alleging that the true character and self of Iisuka resides there. And so he's trying to, and that it's locked up in this shrine. He's trying to break it free and release him so that he can be done with being this crazy, individual.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's something that's going to happen during the match or post match, but you've got to imagine that with all the teasing they've done and alluding to all their history, that it's going to play, factor in and play into the role of this match.
Yeah, I could see post in the middle of the match, referee goes down, Iisuka grabs the iron glove, looks like he's going to hit Tenzan, goes back to normal, and turns around, hits Taichi.
So basically, this is going to be a Hulk Hogan Bound for Glory 2011 moment. That's basically what we're getting here.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's gonna be great. So, so we'll probably see how that plays out. I'm assuming Tenzan's team's going to pick up the win. But the great thing here will be not the moment of joy when he comes to his senses, or when they hug, or when everyone comes out, brings flowers and all that. The real moment of joy will be once the broadcast stops.
And we never
and I never have to see Iska on my screen ever again.
Well, you never know. He might do commentary or something, but
that's fine.
We'll never see him in a ring.
I don't have to see that dude go through the crowd, flailing his arms, trying to bite people,
hitting people with the iron glove,
coming in the ring and just
choking people with a rope,
biting people on their head, biting people on their foot, biting people on their butts. I'm done with it. I am so done with it. I'm glad. Like, I'm so relieved that Iska is getting out of here. I have nothing but joy.
And we have a question here from our buddy Howard Schilling. He said this one is specifically for Josh Smith. How will Suzuki-gun ever replace Iska and what he brings to the group?
They never will be able to replace him, Howard. He brings a special level of sub-mediocrity to wrestling. It's very hard to replicate that on that level. As far as crazy characters, I mean, why would they? Why would you ever do that? It's something that's literally been so terrible for so long. I can't see them ever wanting to do that.
Yeah, see, this is like Suzuki-gun cutting dead weight right here.
Basically, yeah. I know. I mean, wrestling's always had their wild man characters. I'm sure some point someone else will pop up, but yeah, Iska, you can go to hell.
I love that we found a way to do the Tony Schiavone twice. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Well, that wraps up the New Japan Road.
You looking forward to this show? It looks like a banger.
I mean, there's some.
It'll be fine. It does look like a fine little Road to show.
Yeah, I think the match of the night will probably be Ospreay and Tanahashi against KES.
Not the Roppongi 3K and Suzuki-gun match?
That could. Depends on what kind of match they have.
Sure.
If Desperado and Kanemaru come out here and do the same Suzuki-gun straight brawling and cheating, it might not.
Since the beginning of the year, they've been coming to play. You know what I'm saying? Like, every match they've had has been really good. So, and not just because other guys, but like specifically Kanemaru's been like stepping his game up. Desperado's been great. They've been really good this year already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that'll be New Japan Road on Thursday of this week. And then the next day, on Friday, we have the Honor Rising Japan 2019 tour. This is the annual New Japan Ring of Honor co-promotion show that happens in Korakuen Hall every year since the New Japan Ring of Honor partnership has been going. So yeah, let's break this card down.
I know that they announced this last week, but I haven't even looked at the cards.
So this will be.
It's new to me. Like
you're going to get fresh live reactions from the young boy here.
Yeah.
On what's happening on these Honor Rising cards. So the opening contest will be Ren Narita taking on the villain Marty Scurll.
They have a 20-minute time limit. I see Narita taking Marty Scurll to that limit.
Yeah,
they should call Narita the new Excellence of Execution.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll be seeing a time limit draw in this Narita match. I definitely think it'll be a great opportunity for Narita to wrestle somebody with the experience level of Marty Scurll. However, I see this match as a vehicle for getting Marty over.
We haven't seen Marty since Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Since then he introduced a entirely new stable in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, Villain Enterprises.
He's been proclaiming that all his friends are dead. So this is going to be almost like a reintroduction for Marty. And I don't know what the details of of Marty's current status. I know he signed an extension with Ring of Honor, but I don't know how much of that lends itself to him working New Japan. Like, if this is if we're seeing him strictly in a Ring of Honor role, you know, even though he was just in New Japan a few months ago, if like this is it for him.
Well, he was on the he was on the New Beginning, right? Or was he not? No, he wasn't. Oh, yeah, that's right.
We haven't seen him since the 6-man tag.
Yeah.
So, you know, very interesting to kind of see that. But yeah, Marty Scurll and Ren Narita should be interesting. You know, we hardly ever get to see a lot of these young lions have, you know, singles matches against, you know, big time, you know, singles wrestlers. And oftentimes this is the kind of match that they do before they choose to send people out on excursions.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they're going to do that, but it's interesting. We've got Narita in the first match of the night going up against Marty Scurll. And I can't help but notice we got Shota Umino in the next match going up against Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah, these are going to be two big matches for these guys, like you mentioned. Usually when guys are about to go on an excursion, they kind of get these big one-on-one matchups. So Narita and Umino, I think they are at a point where they are ready for excursion. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going on excursion pretty soon. So yeah, this will be a great test for both of these guys.
Yep. Obviously, I mean, you'd have to be crazy to pick anything other than Scurll and Zack Sabre going over. But it'll be very interesting to see how Narita and Umino, you know, fare in their challenge against these two stars.
Yeah. So then next up, the third match of the evening, the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham, Rich's favorite wrestler.
His arch nemesis.
Yes, we are petitioning for Rich Latta versus Jonathan Gresham at Bloodsport.
I'm not. Jonathan Gresham's a shooter. Like, I know he's smaller, and Rich is like, man, I'll throw his small little. But yeah, I'm not trying to have to rush in the ring and fight Jonathan Gresham because he's rolling up on my dog, you know.
So Jonathan Gresham teaming up with Liger here to take on the Bullet Club team of Robbie Eagles and Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah. So at this point, it's kind of a play off the match that probably had happened just the night previous. A lot of the things that we said about that match kind of apply here. The only difference is we don't have a young boy. We got Jonathan Gresham in the match, and that kind of changes the dynamics quite a bit.
Yeah, Jonathan Gresham is, you know, kind of one of the upper mid-card Ring of Honor talents that's consistently pushed. He had a nice little grapple showcase with Zack Sabre Jr. At Final Battle.
Not so nice. I mean, according to some of the reports, he got like a concussion and stormed out of the building. I don't know how much of all that was true, but yeah. Jonathan Gresham is an excellent hand, though, when it comes his style is very different from Robbie Eagles. I have a feeling him and Ishimori could really do some excellent things, and I don't think we've really seen Jonathan Gresham in the New Japan ring. Am I wrong?
No, we have not seen him yet, and I'm wondering if this is going to be the introduction for Gresham for Best of the Super Juniors. Last year, Honor Rising 2018, we saw Flip Gordon make his New Japan debut, which was a setup for him being in the Best of the Super Junior.
I really wouldn't wonder if it is. I think it's very evident that that's probably what's going to happen. I think it's very likely that Jonathan Gresham will be a Ring of Honor representative for the Best of Super Juniors. As such, he should. He's a guy that I would be very excited to see in the Best of the Super Juniors. His style of wrestling is one of my favorites. He has a lot of the things that I love about, say, a Zack Sabre, but a lot less of the transitions with the submissions. He's a more traditional based, you know, chain grapple wrestler, very reminiscent of like Daniel Bryan in his heyday.
Yeah, and you know he does pay tribute to Bryan coming out with that maroon red and that maroon red robe. So yeah, and
I think he'll be great in that tournament. But I think the real question here is, you know, what kind of success him and Liger might have on this night against Ishimori and Robbie Eagles.
Yeah, and you know Gresham is a guy, even though he is kind of one of the bigger names in Ring of Honor right now, he does lose a lot of big matches. And so I'm wondering here if he would take the fall here from Ishimori to kind of keep Ishimori looking strong going into that title match with Liger, or will they pull a surprise and have Liger pin Eagles.
That's a possibility. I'm just kind of looking at the cards for the next night, and I do notice that he's not involved in a match with those same wrestlers. So there's actually a lot of diversity on these cards from what I'm seeing. In fact, I'm not even seeing Ishimori or Liger on the next night at all. So it does feel like for the until we get to the anniversary tour, this is kind of the payoff on this tour for the Liger Ishimori, kind of feud. I'm gonna go with Ishimori and Eagles though.
Okay.
Just because I think that they are going to. I think with what we saw with Ishimori on the last tour, how dominant he was almost the entire time against Taguchi, I think they're going to going to continue that to some effect, and I think Ishimori is going to pick up a second win here.
I'm going to go with Liger and Jonathan Gresham. I think Liger is going to pull up an upset win, either over Eagles or Ishimori, and build some momentum, make him look like a credible challenger for the Bone Soldier.
Interesting. Well, we shall see. But I do look forward to that one.
Then we got an 8-man tag with Toa Hanare,
Weird.
Tomoaki Honma, David Finlay, and Juice Robinson taking on the team of Tangaloa, Tama Tonga, Mark Briscoe, and Jay Briscoe. And something I find interesting
so weird
about the team of GOD and the Briscoes is traditionally when the Briscoes are in Japan, they are a part of the Chaos stable. But here, they're teaming with Bullet Club guys. So I'm wondering...
They haven't been for a long time, though. That's the thing.
The last Honor Rising, they had Chaos on the Briscoes nameplates.
Yeah, and they had that on the nameplates, but it's just because New Japan doesn't change the nameplate. Like, they don't change graphics very often, or what are they called? The profiles?
They don't change the profiles often, but the nameplates, I think they keep track of that on the shows.
I think it's just laziness. Like, Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe really haven't been affiliated with Chaos for a long time, but you're absolutely right in the fact that it's strange to see them teaming up with Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, who are Bullet Club affiliated. I just think it's super weird. Yeah. And I got a feeling that they're not going to gel well together.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting mix. They're almost kind of similar in their attitudes, and they really don't play well with others.
Yeah, the racism, the xenophobia, they're very similar. No, I'm just playing. Shout out to Kyle. I know Kyle hates the Briscoes like so much. Like he's like, man, I'm not even gonna be watching this. But I think it's interesting that we've got. I mean, obviously you've got two heel tag teams together, but I think that this is sort of an issue of two heel teams that have difference of goals and difference of opinions. I don't think we're going to see like GOD and the Briscoes playing nice. If anything, I think that this could I could be wrong here, but I could see a split between these two teams, and it cause issues where maybe it even cost them the match, and it leads to something down the line between these two teams, which I think is a likely scenario. Yeah,
that is possible. I'm also wondering about the potential of maybe even the Briscoes joining the Bullet Club, just because, the Bullet Club was kind of a hot thing for Ring of Honor. They don't have it anymore. Could this be a way of bringing the Bullet Club back to prominence in Ring of Honor?
I think that'd be a mistake. I think the Briscoes, I don't know, in and of themselves, I mean, they've got their own legacy, their own brand. They've kind of done their own thing. I mean, it would be like trying to shoehorn two guys into something that they really don't fit into.
Yeah.
Because they kind of have their own thing going on. They could try that. I'm not saying it's unlikely, because Ring of Honor is at a point where they're doing well with a lot of the business decisions they're making. But as far as booking, I'm not too confident on them just yet. And that's the kind of thing I could see them doing. But to me, that spells desperation. I don't think it's the right way to go with the Briscoes. The only reason you might want to do it is if you're just like, we've had the Briscoes here for so long, we don't know what to do.
We got to do something new.
We got to do something new.
Yeah.
But I don't see them being hot enough for that brand to see an uptick in shirt sales or fan interest. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't see the Briscoes being the vehicle to carry that brand for Ring of Honor, so I don't think that's the way to go at all.
Well, I think I could see the GOD and Briscoes team getting the win here just because Toa Henare is on the other side, and David Finlay, and Honma.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. That's a possibility. It could be something where they get the win and there's a begrudged issue between them. You know, they're very wary of one another, even though they pick up the win. I could be off base. They might gel completely fine, but you know, it's felt like in times past that the Briscoes and Tama Tonga specifically have had issues because of their faction affiliation. So I do think it's going to be interesting to see Juice and Dave Finlay kind of because, I mean, we haven't really seen too much of them since Lifeblood was formed, have we?
Not in Japan, but they've been heavily featured on Ring of Honor TV and the Ring of Honor pay-per-views since Lifeblood's formed. And
so this is being a co-branded event between New Japan and Ring of Honor. I'm sure we're going to see some of that Lifeblood, some of that character work and some of that, branding kind of make its way into New Japan on an official, setting here. Mm-hmm. The other thing too is like Henare and Honma don't necessarily have great ties with Finlay and Robinson. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you do kind of have 4 volatile tag teams here mixing it up. Anything could happen. My one thing though is like Juice is the U.S. champion, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they try to establish Lifeblood by giving them a win over, say, like a Mark Briscoe or something like that.
Yeah, that could happen, but I think I'm gonna stick with GOD and Briscoes. We had a question from our buddy Ben Schaefer. He says he had the question for GOD. Why? And I think he's referring to Tama going back to being a bad guy. I think that's what he was trying to get at.
I get it. It's hard trying to be good all the time. You try your best, but then something just makes you snap, and that's what happened. I don't know what the deal was with Tama Tonga. Like, they didn't really ever spell it out. Like, if him being a good guy was a ruse, if it was a play act, if it was for real, and then he just like got turned back to evil. They didn't really clarify. But it was entertaining while it lasted, but it didn't lead to anything of any significance.
I watched the post-match promo for, I think it was New Beginning in Osaka, with GOD and Tama Tonga just saying, nice guys finish last and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if it was just kind of like he was trying to be a nice guy, wasn't working out. He was saying, it's all my fault. We've been losing with me trying to do this nice guy stuff, and he's like, none of that no more. So I'm just wondering if he was legitimately trying to be a good guy, realized it wasn't working out. He's a better bad guy.
Well, Ben, I'll tell you this: good guy Tama Tonga will always have a place deep in my heart. But you're right. Good guys finish last, so. But yeah, I mean, it was entertaining for what it was, but it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah. So the next we have a never openweight 6-man tag team championship match with the champions Ryusuke Taguchi, Toru Yano, and Togi Makabe taking on the random team here of Cheeseburger, Delirious, and Boom Boom Colt Cabana.
Very, all the comedy, man. All the comedy in the world. Like, this is literally going to be a straight comedy match.
Yeah, you got Taguchi, Yano, Cheeseburger, Delirious, and Colt Cabana in the same match.
Yeah, this.
So if you hate comedy wrestling, you're not going to enjoy this one.
It's been this will probably be like one of the funnest 6-man tag title matches since this tour last year. I'm expecting the MVPs to pick up the victory here, because I can't really imagine Delirious running around with the never open weight 6-man tag titles. But
yeah, and Delirious, he really doesn't wrestle full time. And Delirious he's the booker of Ring of Honor. He just shows up for like these Honor Rising shows, War of the Worlds. Every once in a while he'll pop up on TV, but he's mainly behind the scenes. So yeah, I don't see him getting a championship win here. Even though poor Cheeseburger, man, he missed out. No New Japan Rumble. This man just really wants a shot. He wants to make a break here in New Japan.
I'm all for them doing the Rambo once again, just maybe say like a Dominion. Mm-hmm. I would love for them to do that.
Yeah. And Colt Cabana is another guy I can't see really having a championship. He's mainly a commentator on Ring of Honor TV. He still does wrestle occasionally, but again, not this team here of Cheeseburger, Delirious, and Colt Cabana. It's not something I see full time, especially since Cheeseburger has his own stable on Ring of Honor TV right now.
What are they, the Jags?
you might as well call them that. It's like the Shinobi Shadow Squad or something like that.
That's actually an awesome name.
Him, Eli Isom, and Ryan Nova, I believe the third guy.
Are you a Shinobi guy?
I don't even know what that means.
You've never played Shinobi?
No.
Oh my god. It's like one of the greatest video games of all time. That's all right. It's all right. I'm not going to judge you too hard for this.
I'll add that on my to-do list along with watching Bloodsport, which I still have not done yet.
So the next match is very interesting. We've got Will Ospreay defending the Never Openweight Championship. 60-minute time limit match against Dalton Castle. Now, I think this is really interesting. On the NewJapan1972.com website, they have this listed as his first defense. But per CageMatch.com, Will Ospreay already defended this title in Rev Pro on January 11th, 2019 against Chris Brooks, and it was billed as a Never Openweight Championship title defense. So, what do you think about that?
I think that's just some of that kind of miscommunication kind of stuff we were talking about earlier with the nameplates and the roster profiles and not updating. So this will be the first defense in Japan, unless that's unless that's what they're trying to get at. But technically, it would be the second defense of the title, taking on the former Ring of Honor World Champion Dalton Castle. This man is still a broken down hot mess, still wearing this back brace thing.
Dude, we always talk about Tanahashi needing to go away. Dalton Castle, I know he was away, but he came back too early. He's falling apart, dude. He's falling apart.
Yeah, dude, this guy has been wearing this back brace thing for months now. Saw him at the Ring of Honor TV tapings.
How was that?
Man, it's just, I don't know. He needs to fully heal up, man.
Yeah.
Unless this is some kind of elaborate work and he's really not.
No, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not.
But yeah, Dalton, he's one of the more popular and over guys in Ring of Honor. Die-hard Ring of Honor fans love Dalton Castle.
He has a huge fan following. I personally have never really been a Dalton Castle mark, but I'll never forget that time when we made those fans mad at Supercard of Honor last year when we were complaining so hard about Marty Scurll and Dalton Castle going on last. And yeah, those people next to us, they were Dalton Castle fans, and they freaked out on us.
Yeah, dude. Die-hard ROH fans, they love Dalton Castle. Don't get me wrong. I think Dalton Castle's fine. I love his suplexes. He has an amateur wrestling background. He does some awesome T-bones and Germans. But besides that, I mean, like you said, I've never really been big into Castle. A lot of people like to praise his matches, and honestly, I watch a lot of those matches, and I really don't see much. That Jay Lethal match that last year was one of the matches that...
It's just HDSers will see whatever they want to see.
Honor Defense Squad. Oh my god!
It doesn't matter if you speak reason to an HDSer and you show them the error of their ways. They're just gonna feel some kind of way. And I mean, they love this guy Dalton Castle. Now, actually, you know what? Don't get me wrong. I'll be complimentary here. He at one point I felt like he had a gimmick that was world class, something that even could take him to the top.
Yeah.
And his amateur wrestling acumen has always been very impressive. I mean, the suplex. If anything, I'm a huge suplex mark, and I mean the throws that he would implement. But as far as being a good wrestler, being a guy who could tell a story, draw you in, and really kind of go in the ring, he's never really been impressive to me in that regard at all. I don't think I can even think of a single Dalton Castle match that I really have liked. But things have only deteriorated in recent years, and every time I see him, that Matt Taven match at the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view I thought was really bad. Some people liked it, but I thought it was very bad. And the main thing, though, is Dalton's not healthy,
Yeah.
And he is going up against one of the best wrestlers in the world, Will Ospreay. we saw this never title defended last year in a match between Beer City Bruiser and Hiroki Goto. And man. I gotta imagine that this match might end up being better than that. Actually, that match was like pretty good.
It was, yeah.
Which was a big shock because that ended up being way better than.
Dude, Beer City Bruiser is kind of like
low key good.
A low key like underrated talent.
I've always said that, yeah. But yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen Ospreay and Dalton Castle go 1-on-1. So this has potential, but I'm just wondering what kind of potential with Dalton Castle's health.
Yeah. I mean, Ospreay is going to have to do his best here to get if he wants to have, a 4.5 and above classic with this guy, he's going to pull all stops out. But I do see Ospreay retaining the title here against Mr. Castle.
Yeah, so that's going to be the first title match of the night. Immediately following that, we have another title match. We have the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Jeff Cobb, defending the title against Hiroki Goto, a rematch, or basically a redo of what should have happened during the New Beginning in USA tour, the match they're supposed to have last month.
And also, excuse me, this match was supposed to happen during the Lions Break tour last year in California. So
twice.
Yeah, so finally, we are getting this ROH TV match with Jeff Cobb and Hiroki Goto.
Is this a bigger stage than both of those, though?
Yes, I think so.
So it's kind of like in their interest that it happened. Maybe they like sandbagged a bit to get to this point. I don't know.
Yeah, so finally getting this match. They had a never openweight title match last year with Goto defeating Jeff Cobb.
They did.
And that match, it was
okay, but
yeah.
It wasn't what we expected.
It didn't meet its potential.
No, and so we did see some elements of what could hypothetically have been a great match, and I think that there is every possibility that this will, and it's going to be my pick right now for match of the night on night one, just because of who's involved.
Yeah, I think this match, it always has the potential to be a great match, a strong style fight of the year contender. So yeah, I'm hoping these guys can go out here, kind of go balls to the wall, just start swinging, and just have that big hoss match that we know that they can have. And I'm expecting Jeff Cobb to put away Goto here at the Tour of the Islands.
Yeah, that would make the most sense to me. I expect Jeff Cobb to retain. However, if Goto were to pick up a TV title win, that wouldn't be unlike Ring of Honor to do that sort of thing. But I think in all likelihood, we're going to see Jeff Cobb get the win here.
Yeah, I think Cobb's going into MSG as a TV champion.
Yeah, most likely. Then in the main event, we have a special six-man tag team match. So we have the Team of the Kingdom, Vinny Marseglia, TK O'Ryan, and the ace of that team, Matt Taven, taking on the team that I'm going to dub the Super Friends right now. We've got Tampa Bay Pro's own Jay Lethal, Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, and the ace Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah, like that's like an all-star team. Like,
yeah,
that's like when Hogan, Savage, Sting, and Luger decided to take on the Dungeon of Doom in the War Games. Like,
oh my gosh,
like there's no other outcome than that outcome. But what do you think is going to happen here, man?
I don't know. So first off, let's talk about the Kingdom, because I am not.
Let's do a favor to us and the listeners. Let's just not talk about the Kingdom and move on.
I wish that was the case. So we got to talk about the Kingdom here. The Kingdom is another one of these acts that die-hard Ring of Honor fans love. They love Taven, TK O'Ryan, and Vinny. You know, I was just at Ring of Honor tapings 2 weekends ago. ROH fans, die-hard ROH fans, they love the Kingdom. They pop big for those guys. Those guys are over with the Ring of Honor crowd. There's a subset on Twitter that they're die-hard. They love these Kingdom guys. Personally, I don't like the Kingdom, this version of the Kingdom. The Kingdom I liked was with Adam Cole, baby, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett.
Yeah, that was a great team. Like a really, really great team.
Yeah.
My whole thing is this. You know, you talk about these fans that, you know, they're over with, but I mean, okay, I wasn't how many people were at that taping?
I'm not good with number estimates. I would say
Was there more than the last taping that you and I went to?
Well, that was a house show that we went.
It was a house show.
Yeah, so there was more. I would say there was more than that house show.
Okay.
But not as much as when Kenny was there for those tapings. But even at at Super Card of Honor and just other shows that we've been to, and I occasionally watch Ring of Honor TV. I've watched all the pay-per-views. The Kingdom guys are over. There's no really arguing that with the Ring of Honor fan base, but
no. I'm not arguing that. It's not that they're over, whether they're over or not. It's the idea that I don't think that Ring of Honor has the amount of fans or fan base to really say that even is a significant thing or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like, are they popular with the people that show up to their shows? Like, yes.
Yeah.
But they don't pop the territory the way that, like, when you know the Young Bucks are coming, people, like, come out in droves. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're not going to see, like, huge long lines for autograph signings for the Kingdom. You know what I mean? Like, they're not hot like that. They're just popular with people that happen to follow the television product, which doesn't tell you much of anything here. And I don't know why we're bearing the Kingdom in this moment. It's just...
I personally don't like them.
I don't like them either. I think they suck.
Like, Matt Taven, like, he doesn't do it for me. And I hear wonderful...
I think Matt Taven's pretty good.
I don't know. He's hit or miss for me. Like,
I think he's like an incredibly adequate wrestler. I think, like, I've never really seen Matt Taven do anything bad or have a bad match, but there's nothing spectacular about him whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been fine for me, but people kind of try to elevate him to some kind of great hand. You know, I've been hearing things about his work in CMLL. Personally, I haven't seen it, but from what I've seen in Ring of Honor, like you said, he's good or just kind of adequate, fine. You know, for me, he was better in a tag team when he was with Mike Bennett.
Yeah.
And Mike Bennett's another guy I don't really like in a one-on-one in the singles role either.
You don't like the Miracle?
No, I don't like the Miracle. I don't like Mike Kanellis. You know, whatever singles role he has, I'm not a fan of. I preferred both of those guys when they're in a team here. And then Vinny Marcellia, the axe guy with the red balloons, really don't care for him. TKO Ryan is a guy I feel like he has potential. But again, I really haven't seen much of him in a singles role, so I'm not sure there.
I mean, I would definitely defer to your judgment. You follow this product a little more closely than I do. But they are the hottest trio act in the company. Correct me if I'm wrong, they are the 6-man tag title holders, right?
Yes, they are the Ring of Honor 6-man tag champions. Also, kind of going into this match, coming up for their 17th anniversary show, right. Jay Lethal will be defending the Ring of Honor World title against Matt Taven. There was also a big angle at the TV tapings where so Taven's been claiming that he's the real champion. He had his own fake purple belt. Well, Lethal destroyed Taven's belt at the tapings, so it no longer has that fake purple belt. So there's a lot of heat with Lethal and Taven. But yeah, and it's interesting because these guys will be facing off on the next night on Honor Rising. Lethal will be defending against TKO Ryan. So I'm wondering here if TKO Ryan somehow gets the pinfall to kind of build up that match.
That seems like a possibility. I also think it's a possibility that they do something dastardly post-match to basically build heat towards the title challenge the next night.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing Okada and Tanahashi lose to the Kingdom.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's like the Kingdom is one of the, like you said, one of the most over acts in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
So they might want to give them a visual victory over 3 big stars like this to try and I think it's not possible. I think it's a futile attempt if they try to do this, but to try and paint them in the picture, in the light that they are a bigger deal than they actually are.
Yeah.
Especially given the fact that, just a little over a month and a half or maybe like 2 months from now is the Madison Square Garden show, and you got to figure that these 3 guys are one of their bigger acts who are probably going to be featured.
And maybe Matt Taven could potentially be going into that show as the Ring of Honor champion.
Possibly.
But I'm going to go with Lethal, Okada, and Tanahashi winning, and then, like you were kind of mentioning, Kingdom jumping them afterward and kind of trying to take them out afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Super Friends team here, just because And you know what? This is the mega aces. Got 3 aces.
This is the lethal aces.
But yeah, and then I'm gonna assume that the Kingdom does something evil and dastardly to draw the ire of Jay Lethal afterwards. So
that's night 1. Night 2 will be happening the next night, Saturday, February 23rd, opening up with 6-man tag action with the Young Lion team of Yota Tsuji, Ren Narita, and Shota Umino taking on that ragtag team of Cheeseburger, Delirious, and Colt Cabana.
Yeah, so this should be pretty interesting. I love the Young Lions, so seeing them take on outsiders from another company is always fun to do. With that being said, it's pretty clear that the Ring of Honor team will be picking up the win here. Now, you got to figure, though, hypothetically speaking, if they were to win the titles the night before, this match could possibly turn into a never 6-man tag team title defense.
Yeah, it possibly could.
In an alternate universe, there is a future where Tsuji, Narita, and Umino are reigning 6-man tag team champions.
Oh my gosh. We have a question here about Umino from Reddit user Senor Sombrero 3K. He says, with Umino and Yoshida in the tag league and wrestling against Evil and Sonata at New Beginning, do you think this is an indication that both will be heavyweights when they hit the main roster after a likely excursion?
No, I do not think that. I think that's a great question, but we've seen this from a lot of wrestlers in the past who ended up being, like, take Hiromu, for instance. We've seen Hiromu, before he went on excursion, wrestle heavyweights and then turn around and still be a junior. That's not to say that Narita and Umino won't be heavyweights, but I don't think that them taking on heavyweights...
Well, he said Umino and Yoshida.
I'm sorry, Umino and Yoshida. I don't think that seeing them take on heavyweights is necessarily a clear indicator of what they will or won't be, especially given Umino's body type.
Yeah, Yoshida's tall, though.
Yoshida's tall.
I could see him being heavyweight, especially if he puts some muscle on.
I could see both of them being heavyweights. I'm not detracting from that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I just don't think that who they wrestle as a young lion is ever really a clear indicator of what they're going to wind up doing at all. Yeah. I don't think you can use that as a key reference because it's never proven to have been the case in the past.
Yeah.
But no, I think Umino could hypothetically... I think we're seeing him put on muscle now.
Yeah. Umino, if you look back to when Umino started to now, he's definitely gained a lot of size.
So, I mean, they could both be heavyweights, but I just don't think who they've wrestled as young lions is ever really a key indicator of that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right, so next up we have a tag match with Toa Hanare teaming up with Jonathan Gresham to take on Taka Michinoku and Zack Sabre Jr. So the rivalry between Sabre and Gresham will be kind of re-sparked here in this tag match.
Yeah, so, I mean, you got to figure... I'm assuming Zack Sabre's picking up the win here. I mean, I just see Toa Hanare probably trying to bite off more than he can chew and, getting beat here.
Yeah, but, also, we got Taka. He's another fall guy. And Gresham did lose to Sabre during Final Battle. Rich is going to hate me for this one, but I think I'm going to go with an upset of Gresham tapping out Taka.
That's a possibility, but Toa Hanare is there, and he's a loser. He's getting beat. That's what's happening.
Oh, my gosh.
The next match after that, we have a singles match. The villain, Marty Scurll, taking on Robbie Eagles.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because Marty is a former member of the Bullet Club. And now he's a top star in Ring of Honor, the head of his own Villain Enterprises, taking on, the newest junior member of the OG Bullet Club, Robbie Eagles. Kind of an extension of the Elite taking on the OGs sort of, deal.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this match is going to be designed to get Robbie Eagles over.
Right.
I mean, we don't know, I've been hearing all kind of different dates on when exactly Scurll's contract extension ends with Ring of Honor. So I have no idea if he's going to be around for Best of the Super Juniors. But I expect Eagles to be in the best of the Super Juniors this year. And so I have a feeling they're going to use this match to get Eagles over and elevate him to make him look like a top star in the junior division.
You think we could be seeing a Robbie Eagles victory here?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm going with Eagles, yeah.
Oh, wow. No, I got to go Marty Scurll. He's getting the chicken wing. He's a top guy when it comes to Ring of Honor. I think that there's every possibility that he could be a champion come, like a title challenger come Supercard time. So,
and he also has a future NWA heavyweight championship match in April with Nick Aldis.
Yeah, I think you're seeing your classic Ric Flair Sting Clash the Champions situation here. An established top star taking on the young upstart, but Marty's not doing the job to Eagles here. I mean, he could because it's Marty, but if they want to do something with this guy, they need to push him. So I think Robbie should look great in defeat, but it should be all Marty here.
Yeah. I'm a big Marty Scurll fan, and I would love to see him go over, but I just feel like New Japan, they're going to kind of want to move away fully from those elite guys and just show that their new Bull Club Junior is better than Marty and try to elevate him and make him look a star going into Best of Super Juniors.
And I think if Ring of Honor let New Japan do that, then they're idiots, basically. They're like, that should not be happening. That to me, that's a clearly bad booking decision. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you can always recover from that sort of thing. I mean, it's one loss and you can move on, but Marty shouldn't be taking singles pinfalls right now to almost anybody, I don't think.
Mm. Well, I have seen him take some questionable pinfalls on Ring of Honor TV, so...
Really?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see him take a L here.
Huh. So the next match, we have Will Ospreay teaming up with Hiroki Goto, taking on the team of Dalton Castle and Jeff Cobb. So, we're seeing the two title challengers from the night previous taking on the two defending champions. And at this point, anything could have possibly happened. Dalton Castle and Jeff Cobb could be, Dalton Castle and Hiroki Goto could be champions at this point. We could have seen a whole, switching of the two belts.
Right, or you can have... Ospreay and Goto with both belts, or Castle and Cobb with both belts.
Right.
But yeah, I think we'll see both champions retain coming into this matchup here. And I think
this is a tough one.
Yeah, this is a tough one. But I think the Chaos team of Ospreay and Goto get the win here.
I think Goto's jobbing.
Think he's gonna eat another tour of the islands.
Maybe Dalton Castle beats him.
Bangerang?
Maybe a Bangerang.
I don't know.
Maybe this is a DQ. Maybe they all get attacked or something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I see.
You could go with the classic 1980s double DQ, double count out.
The young boy special.
The young boy special.
I don't know. I think Ospreay and Goto will take the win here.
Bro, you have a New Japan bias.
I picked some Ring of Honor guys, haven't I?
Yeah, against Young Lions.
No, I picked Gresham to tap out Taka.
That's because you think he's coming to New Japan.
I don't know, man.
I gotta figure Dalton Castle is a big star in New Japan Ring of Honor. It's hard for me to imagine him getting beat twice, or for Jeff Cobb to get beat at all. Goto just seems right for the picking. That's what Goto does. He loses.
He's a loser.
I mean, you could be right. You could totally be right, but I don't know. Dalton Castle's a pretty big... he's one of their top three guys.
He is, but standing across the ring from him is Will Ospreay, so...
And Goto. Goto's going to lose. I'm telling you.
Hey, it could happen, but I don't know. I'm going to place my bets with Ospreay.
All right, bro. And no. You're placing your bets with Ospreay
right, and Goto.
Don't forget that.
So we have another tag team match following this. We have the LIJ Dream Team of Shingo Takagi and Tetsuya Naito taking on members of the Kingdom, Vinny Marseglia and Matt Taven.
Well, Shingo Takagi's gonna pump bomber Vinny Marseglia, and that'll be it. Let's move on to the next match.
Yeah, Ring of Honor or New Japan bias.
Well, Shingo's Shingo hasn't lost has Shingo lost a single match?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the Kingdom, they're big stars. They gotta go over. They have to get some shine.
Not over Shingo. Shingo's a big deal, bro.
Oh yeah, Shingo and Naito are big deals. Yeah, and I can't see these Kingdom bums beating these guys.
Yeah, that would be egregious. So that's definitely not happening. The next match we're getting in the middle of the card, not at the top. At the sixth match of the night, Jay Lethal is defending the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship against TKO Ryan. My God, what a barn burner this is going to be. This is going to be your classic slobber knocker right here. This is going to be a war.
Well, this could be a breakout match for TKO Ryan. He spends a lot of time doing tag work with Vinny. So, yeah, this could be the chance that TKO really needs to kind of get some shot on him and to break out from those other Kingdom guys.
When it comes to award season and a match like this happening, is this going to count as a New Japan match? A Ring of Honor match? Both? We got Jay Lethal and TKO Ryan wrestling in what? Is this going to, could this hypothetically be a New Japan Match of the Year contender?
I don't think it's...
Provided it delivered, could it hypothetically be? I know it won't, but I'm just asking.
I think so. This is a co-branded show.
All right, Jay Lethal, TKO Ryan, MOTYC.
Yeah,
mark it down. Do not miss this one.
I don't think it's going to get on that level.
It's for a world title.
I think it'll be a chance for TKO to break out, but it is TKO. He's a tag guy in the Kingdom. He's never really done much singles in Ring of Honor, held any single championship. Jay Lethal is the longest reigning Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. I think
cumulatively.
Yeah, and with
not for a single reign.
Yeah, and with the 17th anniversary coming up, with him defending against Matt Taven in the program they're doing there, I don't think it would make quite much sense for TKO to get the win here. So, seeing our Tampa Bay pro friend here, Jay Lethal, get the win.
This is gonna be sorry. It's gonna be sorry. It's gonna be 3 stars if that, and then they'll do something to forward the whole thing with Lethal and Matt Taven, and that will be that. So I'm not really looking forward to this at all, believe it or not.
Shame. Lethal should be in a better spot than that.
The next match of the night, we have the IWGP Tag Team Champions Sonata and Evil defending their titles against the challengers, GOD, Tangaloa, and Tama Tonga. So I'm going to assume that I'm going to take back my I don't remember what my prediction was, but I'm going to assume that Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and the Briscoes win on the night previous because they're challenging for the titles just the next night. So, what are we seeing here? What is this gonna? Oh my God, we're getting this match again.
Yes,
we're getting this match again. And it feels like Tama Tonga's ready to get the belts right back.
Yeah, it does feel like that. I've been on this whole kind of thing. They want Evil and Sonata to be like the quote unquote top Japanese tag team and give those guys a long run. But with Tama recently turning back to a bad guy and getting back to his roots, and it seems like you said, they're getting ready to push GOD again. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a title change here.
There's not a lot of titles on this tour that I think are even going to change hands. So this kind of feels like it could be a title, victory. Now, one thing I am kind of glad that we're not doing long stretches between title defenses, Mm-hmm. We always talk about how we want to see the heavyweight division kind of see a resurgence. So it's kind of cool that we just saw them defend these belts and they're going to defend them again. But I got a feeling it's going to be GOD, man.
I don't know. I'm going to stick with kind of my gut on what I've been thinking about Evil and Sonata, and I'm going to go with Evil and Sonata retaining.
I just think GOD's going to win, and then, a few months from now, LIJ will win it back, and then a few months after that, GOD will win it back. And
then they'll have a triple threat with KES.
And KES will never get the belts. It'll just, GOD will get them back, or LIJ. We'll do, 5 title changes this year between these two teams. They'll just trade it back and forth. And then, they'll be able to be we're 11-time World Tag Team Champions. And they'll go into the Hall of Fame.
Better than the Road Warriors.
Better than the Road Warriors. It's going to be great.
Oh, my gosh. But we have another tag title match as the main event of this show. The Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships will be on the line as the champions, the Briscoe brothers, Mark and Jay, defend against Finjuice, Lifeblood, David Finlay, and the IWGP US Champion, Juice Robinson.
Oh, you know what? I got to take what I said back earlier. Let's take it back again. I'm sorry. But if Finlay and Juice are challenging the Briscoes on this night, then they need to look strong going into the title defense. My original pick was right. Mark Briscoe's losing
The 8-man.
the 8-man on the first night. Sorry about that. That makes more sense. Duh. This is... We'll talk about these cards here in a second. But yeah, let's just talk about this match. It's just interesting that this is the main event to top off the whole entire Honor Rising card. I mean, this is a far cry from Golden Lovers taking on Cody and Marty Scurll. Like, this is a far cry from that.
But again, I'm kind of not surprised. I mean, they're really pushing Lifeblood hard in Ring of Honor. They're trying to make that stable one of their top acts. Those guys are featured heavily on the TV. Briscoe Brothers, one of the best tag teams in the world, one of the best tag teams in Ring of Honor history. I think it's great every once in a while to have tag titles in the main event scene. And I think we're going to see a big title change here, and Finlay and Juice are going to pick up those tag titles.
I'm just going to go Briscoes because I don't really watch this show enough, and the Briscoes are the Briscoes, so I'm just going Briscoes.
Gotcha.
I really don't have I can't make an educated enough decision about all this.
Yeah.
I know I like Finlay and Juice. I think they had a good run during the World Tag League as far as having entertaining matches, but I got to tell you, nothing about this match is enticing or intriguing to me, really, from like a fan standpoint. In fact, this whole card, really, the first night is a lot more interesting to me than the second night. The second night doesn't do much for me at all.
Yeah, I think this Girl and Eagles match could be a breakout match. I think TK O'Ryan, if he can deliver here, he can have a good little match with Jay Lethal. Who knows? Maybe LIJ and God can pull something out. But I do think the Lifeblood against the Briscoes, I do think that's good, has the potential to be a really, really good match.
It may. It's just looking at the first card, you've got, the Mega Aces and the 6-man tag, and then you've got 2 singles title matches that, for what they are pretty interesting looking. And, everything else kind of feels like it's paced very similarly to a traditional New Japan like Road to show. Whereas the second night doesn't really have that vibe to me. It kind of just feels all over the place. Like, I don't know why Shingo and Naito are taking on the Kingdom other than they just show up in Ring of Honor all the time. Robbie Eagles and Marty Scurll doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Like, this just feels sort of really like hodgepodge, like kind of thrown together. And I think you got the Ring of Honor World Championship on the 6th match of the night, which it's fine, but it's against TK O'Ryan. It's very evident that that's just something to forward the Matt Taven title shot for later in the month.
Right.
This isn't like the sexiest card I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. They're not even close to being as good, in my opinion, to the Honor Rising shows from last year.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that probably does have to do with no Elite.
Yeah, and
other guys too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the newer signees are not on here. No PCO, no Roosh, no Bandito.
Yeah, that's something I'm very surprised. When I was expecting, who's going to come over? I was like, we're getting all these new, signed dudes, but we're getting a lot of the regular players, and it's funny because people are always talking about, Ring of Honor, doesn't have anybody, and then you have to be quick to remind them, like, oh no, they just added a bunch of guys. They got this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, and it's like, oh wow, they got a lot of people, and then you look and it's like, well, they got Cobb, they brought Cobb, they brought Scurll. Yeah, there's some talent that they brought, but it's a lot of the regular players. I don't know. This to me doesn't feel like a way to put your best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too is like this is going to be one of the last. I know they're running tours before the G1 Supercard, but for New Japan fans and for people that subscribe to the network, this seems like your prime opportunity to build things and plant seeds for things that are going to occur down the line. This is not the way that you build intrigue or entice people to wanting to watch that show. Like, this doesn't build to that at all, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think they're trying to build to MSG off this card.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
They should be. I'm not saying like it should be direct, but they should at least
be planting seeds.
And setting things up. And instead it just feels like a card, you know? And I'm not that excited or that impressed. I don't mean to be a downer, but that's kind of, I got to call it like I see it. Like, this doesn't feel like they're putting their best foot forward.
Yeah.
Or worse, maybe they are putting their best foot forward, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we'll see how these cards go out. We have some questions here. Question from Reddit user Zach Saber Time. He says, what's next for the U.S. title? It feels like it doesn't even exist. They made Lifeblood, but it doesn't translate to Japan. Does it really mean anything? I think Juice needs its singles wins in Japan in front of the NJPW crowd.
Yeah, so I mean, your U.S. champion will be on this tour. He'll probably be carrying the belt, but there's nothing that is really establishing him as, the U.S. champion here in Japan. We haven't even seen him have a title defense yet. Now, you can make that, criticism, but at the same time, until this tour, we haven't really seen Will Ospreay either.
Right.
So it kind of does feel like that both of those titles are kind of like in the back of your mind. It's, we haven't really seen them. But the difference here is Juice isn't going to be defending the belt, and we don't really have an indication of when the next title defense might be. It might not even be till after the New Japan Cup, or maybe the Road to after that. I don't know. He's got a good point there.
Yeah, there was a U.S. title defense at the New Beginning in USA. Obviously, with that show's on demand, it's not, as far as I know, it's not up on New Japan World yet. I definitely do think we need to see some more. We need to see some Juice defenses, and we need to see Juice kind of shining in singles role in New Japan.
Yep.
Zach Sabertime also had another question. He says, what do you guys think of Naito and Jay White not being on the Honor Rising tour or the Iizuka retirement show? I think Jay doesn't need to be there because he has no challenger, but I think Naito should be there heading into New Japan Cup. Well, Naito is on one night of the Honor Rising tour, but he's not on the first night, and he's not on the Iizuka retirement tour or retirement show.
Yeah, it does seem like LIJ is taking a bit of a break. We will see them on the one night, the second night of the Honor Rising tour, but we're not going to be seeing them on the other two shows. And I mean, that's just how things are in New Japan. Things are cyclical. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Jay White was on all the tours that have been happening since. I mean, was he on the Fantastic Mania tour?
No, he was not.
But I mean, he was on the last tour. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it does seem like I don't really have an opinion. It's just things. That's how things are in New Japan. They're cyclical. I don't really have a strong opinion about it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a strong opinion. I don't know how to answer that.
Right, and like if they're not really going to do anything with Jay White to set something up, like why use him?
There's not a strong Bullet Club presence really on this tour.
Right. I mean, you have God and Eagles and Ishimori.
Yep.
But there's no Fale, no Jay White, no Gato. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for the question.
Next question from our boy Muzza_44. Would you want to see Brody King and PCO in the World Tag League?
I don't want to see the World Tag League at all.
But we know it's going to happen. So
allegedly, they might change their minds. They might be like, "This isn't working out. We're gonna stop this after all these years."
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think Brody King and PCO. I mean, I think that actually is a pretty long shot of a team to come to Japan and work that long, arduous tour. And after this past tour, I've given up hope on hoping for these cool, outside teams to show up. We're not getting that. We're getting, Makabe and,
Yano.
And Yano. Like, we're getting teams like that. Like, you get excited, you see guys teaming up, and then you wind up with, like, just whoever, So I would love to see Brody King and PCO in the World Tag League, but I bet you they won't be.
Yeah, I would love to see them too. Man, this man PCO is a mad man. This man is taking apron bumps from the top every night on every Ring of Honor show he's on. This guy has been killing it. Brody King's another great worker. And they've been gelling really well together as Villain Enterprises. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see them. Like you said, we don't know 100% sure if it's going to happen, but
we don't even know if they'll be working together come December.
True. Yeah, Villain Enterprises will probably be over by then.
Oh no, I'm talking about New Japan and Ring of Honor.
Oh. Muzzle had another question. He says, if Honma was to get 100%, would you want him in tournaments like the G1, New Japan Cup, and World Tag League?
Hypothetically, yes, but that will never happen.
Even if he is 100%, honestly, I don't think I would want to see him in any of these tournaments. Maybe the World Tag League, but a G1 or New Japan Cup.
Hanma was incredible in the G1s before his injury, though.
Yeah, but I just feel like there's just so many more talented workers right now that could be potentially in a G1 spot.
No, if he was 100%, he'd have to absolutely be in the G1. Like, he was incredible the last few years, and I don't think that there are a lot of people that are significantly more talented than Hanma was in that role prior to his injury. But the reality is, he's never going to be 100%. It's never, ever, ever going to happen. The fact he's even wrestling is both a miracle and also crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I don't think we're going to see him in these tournaments. But, I mean, would I love to? Yeah, it's the same way where, like, if you ask me, would I like to see Shibata in these tournaments if he was 100%? Yeah. But you know what? I don't think he's ever going to be 100% either.
That man says he's coming back.
He's going to die in the ring.
He's training. He's getting ready.
I know he is. And I'm telling you, if he comes back, like, I'm not wishing that on him, but it's really scary stuff.
Next question comes from Reddit user Undoubtedly Dean. What are your favorite matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling that generally don't receive much recognition?
Well, I mean, right off the top of my head, Young Lion matches come to mind, and specifically the series between Ren Narita and
Yagi.
And yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. That was Young Lions Cup match from December.
Both matches they had both matches between Yagi and Narita where they went to the time limit are incredible. Incredible.
But that first one though, from the
thing is, I think that at the time when we watched the second one, we thought the second one was better, but then we never went back and rewatched them. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, the first one still sits in my mind a little bit more.
Well, that first one opened our eyes. I don't know. I didn't have high expectations for the Young Lions Cup.
Me either.
Or a pairing of Yagi and Narita, but they went out there and freaking killed it.
Yeah, I don't know specifically which match actually is better because I haven't rewatched them like that, but both matches I remember being significantly better than any Young Lion match that I could remember seeing for years. So those really, really stick out to me. Are there any other New Japan matches that just in general that you think are really good that kind of didn't get a lot of praise or a lot of acclaim?
I mean, the only thing I can think of kind of based off of
I think there's a lot of matches.
Off of our year-end voting, I feel like a lot of people forgot about the Ospreay and Skrull series and how great all their junior title matches were last year. I really enjoyed all of those Ospreay Skrull matches, and I feel like people kind of brushed those over.
Those matches, yeah, but I don't know if people didn't remember as much as just it didn't. I thought it would be I thought the one from March of last year was gonna be the junior match of the year, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like tournament matches that kind of stick out to me that were great for different reasons that maybe didn't get, match of the year looks. For instance, the match between Sonata and Zack Sabre Jr. Was really excellent. That had like a total World of Sport sort of vibe to it. I really loved the match between Kushida and I believe it was Sho.
Oh, from Best Super Junior.
Best Super
Yeah,
Juniors.
that grapple match they had, yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that. I'm sure there's other matches. I mean, historically, there's a lot of great matches. I think, you're seeing a lot of people kind of come around to like the Dark Ages now, all these Inokiists who have kind of started to find like Murakami matches and Kendo Kashin matches that they really do vibe with that people sort of forgot about. Stuff like that. I know there's a lot of 80s matches that are kind of under the radar just because people don't watch that stuff as much. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So, there's always a bunch of, I'm sure there's a bunch of matches that...
But he asked what are our favorite matches
yeah.
in New Japan that don't receive much recognition. I love the Cody and Kota Ibushi match from Wrestle Kingdom. What was that, 12?
Yeah.
I love that match.
Yeah.
I think that match is
awesome. That's one of Cody's best one-on-one matches post WWE.
Yeah, and I think people liked it, but I think the kind of recognition I give it is a lot higher than most other people. I don't know. Do you have any matches like that you just like really like that are not as heralded?
Nothing's really coming to mind right now. I feel like majority of the matches I like are usually universally kind of praised. I mean, the only stuff when I read this question, the Yagi and Narita match was the first thing that came into my mind.
Me too. Yeah,
so,
I can't praise that match high enough.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to jump into the news. First thing here, this kind of broke last week when we were recording. We weren't 100% sure of all the details, but we have some more information from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and it's about Kota Ibushi. Coming from the Wrestling Observer, it says Kota Ibushi has signed an exclusive multi-year contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. President Harold May pushed very hard to get this deal completed. With him now under contract for a long time, there will be no hesitation to push him to the top level. And we have a question here from Reddit user Lee Ibushi. What do you guys think of New Japan Pro Wrestling? What do you think New Japan Pro Wrestling did to get Ibushi under contract? Why do you think Ibushi signed? So many variables and factors to think about. What do you think? Well, that's a different question. Let's cover the Ibushi question. So what do you think about Ibushi signing, and what do you think they did to get him under contract?
I think the real question is, what did Kenny Omega do to Ibushi to make him so mad that he decided, I'm going to sign with this company? No, I'm just playing. I don't know, man. I mean, what did they do? I mean, I think that hypothetically, though, mentioning Omega is not necessarily out of the realm of speculation when it comes to why he may have signed. This is a guy who there's a whole, long history, long backstory as to their history, with one another through multiple promotions, and you can look into that. There's Showbuckle has a great video on that. But, in recent years, ever since the ascension of Kenny, he has kind of played a second fiddle. And it has been something where it's like, yes, we've been waiting for a while for Kota Ibushi to sign a deal so that he could hypothetically be pushed. But at the same time, too, you kind of wonder with the amount of top guys that they've had in the company, has it also kind of been a possibility that maybe he's been overshadowed by some of those guys and that there wasn't a spot for him? Mm-hmm. And now with this second exodus of wrestlers leaving the company, he saw an opportune moment to be like, okay, this is my opportunity. This is my time with these guys leaving where I could fill those voids, fill that vacancy. That's one speculation. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's one thing I'm thinking. I think the truth is nobody really knows what happened to cause him to sign the contract. Maybe they threw money at him that they never were willing to in the past.
Right. I mean, with Kenny gone and those elite guys gone, I'm sure that freed up the payroll to offer him a big deal.
I mean, the only thing is Ibushi has always seemed to me, and everyone has a price. Ha 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 ha. Everyone has a price, but he's never seemed like someone who's been strictly motivated by money, but more by the creative and by the art of everything. So I mean, there are things that New Japan could have promised him in his contract, variables that we don't know about, whether it's a certain number of dates, certain number, maybe different creative freedoms, things like that. I really don't know. We would have had to have been in those negotiating rooms with them to kind of figure out what it was. But something did change. This is a guy who was unwilling to sign for years and years and years, and then suddenly he's locked down for multiple years. And you got to imagine that we're not going to be talking about a big four anymore, but like maybe a big five now.
Yeah.
Because Kota Ibushi has always felt like he could be one of the top guys, but this has always been that thing that held him back, that thorn in his side, and now it's kind of gone. And so the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a great thing for New Japan, a great thing for Kota Ibushi's future in the company. Like you mentioned, not having a contract has always been kind of reported as the key factor to why Ibushi was not pushed as a pillar of the company. So yeah, I think 2019 is going to be a great year for Kota Ibushi. Like you said, it's kind of hard to put together what potentially were the key factors for him signing, but I think we should just be happy he did sign, and that we've been hearing reports about New Japan supposedly aggressively signing talent, and we really haven't heard about any signings, and so finally this is a pretty big deal and a pretty big signing. So I'm happy New Japan has Ibushi, and that we'll be seeing him in the future. We'll be seeing him in the New Japan Cup. So yeah, looking forward to that. So next thing, we have the announcement about the show in London called NJPW Royal Quest, and it's will be taking place on the 31st of August in London at the Copper Box Arena. So this is the first major event for New Japan in Europe, and 3 of the top Japanese wrestlers are confirmed that they will be on the card and will bring New Japan Pro Wrestling's fighting spirit to the heart of UK's capital. New Japan will be letting fans know next week at the same time when they announce the ticket sale of which wrestlers are going to be at that big show. So yeah, you can check out njpw1972.com for more information about that show and tickets. What do you think about the Royal Quest?
I mean, it's, from what we've heard so far, it's, basically, I guess slated to be a pretty big card. It's the first big card that we're gonna get post G1. It has seemed like the fans in England have gotten better cards than the fans in the US for whatever reason. When you kind of compare some of the Ring of Honor cards, or even some of the US shows outside of say the
G1 in San Francisco.
Yeah, the Cow Palace show. And you know what? I kind of preferred the shows that they got over at RevPro last year. The Strong Style Evolved UK shows, I thought they were better than the Cow Palace show. So it is interesting, and it does seem like they're making a big play to have a big show in London. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something big there with Zack Sabre.
Oh yeah. Maybe Sabre in an IWGP title match.
Title shot, possibly.
So next up, we have news about Jay White. So in the press conference last week, the newly crowned IWGP champion agreed to defend his newly won title in Madison Square Garden against the winner of the New Japan Cup. And like we mentioned before, in the past, the New Japan Cup winner Usually had the freedom to choose which title he would challenge for, but this year he will be slotted for a IWGP heavyweight title match in New York City. And I think this makes a lot of sense considering, the winner of the New Japan Cup always picks the heavyweight title anyway, so it just makes sense to just already slot that out. And
but I think it's interesting that they're saying that the IWGP Championship is going to be defended against the winner of the New Japan Cup preemptively. Mm-hmm. They've never done that before, which leads you to believe that in the past, the way this tournament has always worked is the other title holders could not be in the tournament, but with them already announcing ahead of time that the IWGP title is up for grabs, then that could hypothetically free up the Never Champion and the IC Champion as being...
And the U.S. Champion.
And the U.S... Well, I think the U.S. Champ's always been eligible because that's never been one that... Remember last year that wasn't eligible to be chosen?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it means that they could hypothetically, based on just inference alone, they could be in the tournament.
Yeah, and we've heard, Naito talking about wanting to be both IC Champ and IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So, yeah, I can definitely see all the champions being in this thing and this being a very stacked New Japan Cup tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we have a lot of questions revolving around Jay White and the New Japan Cup. First question comes from Twitter user Omega Goon. He says, do you think Jay White has the belt so Okada has something to rebuild up to, so can once again reclaim the IWGP heavyweight belt? The money's in the chase, right? A good heel champion for the babyface to overcome.
Yeah, first off, let me just say Omega Goon is a freaking awesome name. I love that name. Jay White having the belt, we've talked a bit about this, and I think maybe we should just touch on it for a minute here. But, they've talked about how Jay White has kind of received the prospective booking that they may have given to Kenny Omega had he resigned. So, we talked about the reports last week that Okada and Omega was supposed to be occurring in Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. Now we're getting Jay White sort of in that spot. Whether it's still Okada who will wind up challenging is yet to be seen, but it does seem like to be the logical, way to go. So do I think Jay White has the belt so Okada has something to rebuild to? In a sense, yes. But I got to tell you, I think Jay White has the belt because they needed to elevate him and elevate him quickly. Yeah,
they need to establish a new top star. They lost Kenny. They lost the Elite. They lost some top gaijin that was kind of the foundation of the Western expansion. So they had to turn to, somebody that came from their dojo, another gaijin, another guy that they could push to try and help the Western expansion. And so they put all the chips on Jay White.
Now, nothing is, no man's an island unto himself. So that's not to say that these factors or these decisions have nothing to do with other talent like Okada. But to simply say Jay White is just there so he can be a pin eater for Okada is, I think it's a little bit of an oversimplification. Although I don't think you're wrong in some of your, assertions here. I think it is true. Like Okada needed to be rebuilt. I think Jay White is a natural foil for him, especially after the year-long feud that they just embarked on and the big match they had at the Tokyo Dome. And there's money in this match, and Jay White is a great heel for Okada to overcome. But we've always speculated, is Jay White ready for this, that sort of thing. So I don't think this was their first pick. Yeah. I don't think this was the initial way that they planned to go off the fly. I think that the real reason that Jay White is holding the title is because they needed to elevate him quickly, and I think that's kind of the long and short of it for the most part.
Yeah. So now we have some questions about the New Japan Cup winners. Question from Reddit user Seth101793. He says, who is winning the New Japan Cup in your opinion? And our buddy Kyle Morris from the Outsider's Edge, he says, who are your favorite to win this year's New Japan Cup?
Well, I think we've talked about who our favorites, like who our individual picks are going to be for the most part, but Let's talk about guys that we could hypothetically see winning the New Japan Cup as favorites. I think that's a little more, exciting. And keep in mind, the guys that are going to win this would probably wind up going to, they're going to wind up going to the MSG show. So that kind of really narrows your base down quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, the favorites in my head are Okada, Ibushi, and Naito.
Yep.
Out of those three guys, I think it comes down to those three guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And there's other names that you could think about that could hypothetically be winners, but they don't make as much sense. You could say a Will Ospreay, you could say a Tanahashi or a Suzuki, but then when you start thinking of, well, they got to fill, it's going to be in Madison Square Garden, and it's got to play into the stories, and it's got to be a big match. Those guys really don't make as much sense as Naito or even Zack Sabre. He's another guy. So you have a lot of big names to draw from, but when it factors down to challenging Jay White for the title in the Garden, the names you mentioned to me are the easy picks, almost to the point where it's like we talked, just a few weeks ago about we haven't announced it, but we're most likely going to be doing the New Japan Cup bracket tournament like we did last year. I think Kyle Morris won that, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe he did. Right? I know he won a contest last year.
He won a contest.
I can't remember. I think it was the New Japan Cup that he won.
Maybe it was. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was because it was early in the year.
But I'm almost inclined to not do it because I'm like, it's so obvious who the top guys are going to be. It's like, if I feel like we're going to get a million of the same brackets, whereas last year the brackets were kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
But I guess because I said on there, we kind of have to do it.
I mean, I was planning on doing it. I didn't realize you were thinking.
No, I was definitely planning on doing it, but then I was like, well, it's almost not as fun because it's like, I really think it's going to be Okada, but if it's not, it's probably definitely going to be Ibushi or Naito. Those are just the three names that make the most sense.
Yeah.
Everyone else seems like really unlikely,
Mm-hmm.
Like if KES is in this tournament, they're not winning it, or Fale, what I mean?
Right,
like it's just not happening.
But we don't have a bracket, and hey, nobody expected Zack Sabre Jr. to win last year. So, I mean, personally, out of those three, to me, I think Okada makes the most sense. Just based off the story they've been telling, and based on the rumored reports of what the original plan was, I think Okada makes all the sense in the world to try and get some comeuppance and revenge on Jay White and get his belt back. But hey, they've been saving Jay White and Naito. We've never seen Jay White and Ibushi. Those are two first-time matches they could pull out in the Garden.
Absolutely.
Next question comes from Reddit user Eater of Bread. He says, with Okada, Tanahashi, Ibushi, Suzuki, Sabre, Ishii, Goto, Evil, and Sonata all without singles titles, as well as Naito wanting to enter the tournament, could this year's New Japan Cup be the most stacked yet?
Yes. That's the thought I've had going into this tournament for a while now, is that this is likely to be one of the most star-studded New Japan Cups we've ever seen, because typically speaking, they don't really treat it like a G1. You'll see a Yujiro Takahashi or, a Davey Boy Smith Jr., guys that are not really in the G1. You'll see them compete in this sort of thing, Taichi, that sort of thing. This year, it feels like because of the stakes that are in place and everything, it feels like we're going to get a lot of these bigger name guys go. This is going to be the thing that really kicks off award season, match of the year season. We're going to be seeing some top guys in this thing for sure this year.
Yeah. Eater Bread also asks, which wrestling promotion is currently the second biggest in the United States?
I don't know. Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah, technically it's a promotion that is running shows. I guess you would say Ring of Honor, but
second biggest in the U.S.
When All Elite starts, I would think you could. They're automatically.
Yeah, is All Elite already the second largest?
With the merch they're putting out, the ticket sale numbers they're doing, I mean, technically they haven't officially had a show yet, but I mean, at this point, I mean, they're kind of blowing ROH out of the water with everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't understand the question until you mentioned AEW, because I was like, well, what? There is no, like, second largest. And I was like, oh, yeah, AEW. Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. I'm not going to sit here and say AEW is the second largest already, because logically, how can you say that? But at the same time, it's a foregone conclusion. They're going to be when they start.
Yeah.
They're going to have probably the largest TV presence outside of, WWE. They're going to have the most financial backing out of any company. They've got the top stars.
They got that con money.
They got tons of money behind them. Like, it's hard to see a scenario where they're not already the second largest. Now, for how long that will be and how successful they'll be and all that remains to be seen. And so that's why it's hard to say, like, oh, well, they're the second largest because they're not running shows yet. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, if you want to be technical, it's Ring of Honor, I guess, right now. But it's
until May.
Until AEW starts, then yeah, it's pretty much Ring of Honor, I guess.
And there was a second part of Lee Ibushi's question that I forgot to go back to. I'm going to run back to that real quick. He said, what do you think will be the main event on night 1 and night 2 of the Tokyo Dome next year?
Oh man, I really don't know. I mean, there's so many factors that are in play. Ibushi signing, Jericho hypothetically being able to work, New Japan shows. You got to figure that's a possibility.
Omega being able to work New Japan shows.
That's a possibility as well. The only thing I know for sure is I think Naito's gonna win the title. Mm-hmm. That's or win a title defense. That's just my gut instinct. It just seems like that's what needs to be happening. So
yeah, the Naito Okada match, I still think that's the direction. I don't know which night you close that with. I don't know
I still think it is too. Although so much time has passed and so many things have changed that I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do that specific match.
What would be a sexy match for one of the nights?
What?
Okada versus Ibushi.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. I really don't know yet.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm going to say Okada Naito for one of the nights. But like you said, so many factors, so many things can change. Our boy, Rich Latta, he says, if there's a shot guy, whether an old guy or a guy ready for some elevation, you can send to the semifinals of the New Japan Cup, who would it be?
So they're only going to make it to the semifinals, but not beyond that.
Yeah. I'm thinking Big Tom Ishii.
Tomohiro Ishii?
Yeah.
I was going to say that right off the bat, but that's not so shocking to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The only way that's really shocking is if you have him beating, like, big stars on the way. Like, he beats a Tanahashi.
Yeah.
Or something crazy.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking about his tournament performance last year. He was bumped out in the first round against Big Mike Elgin.
I also thought to myself, Michael Elgin is a guy, given his recent past, that could use that sort of bump. Mm-hmm. What I'm surprised you didn't say, and I was going to say, but I was going to leave it for you.
Evil?
No. If you wanted to see someone who was shocking get to the semifinals, then you do Kojima. Yeah, you take Kojima and you give him like a little run, because I don't know if we're going to get that G1 run out of him this year or not. Mm-hmm. So let's say he doesn't do that, but maybe he has a final like stand here in a star-studded New Japan Cup. That's something that would be shocking. There's not a lot of other guys that I could.
Well, I didn't even know if Kojima would be in the New Japan Cup. That's why I didn't even think about it.
That's why Rich said old guy or young guy. Yeah. Someone like Can you imagine like Kojima having like a
dude? That would be.
I thought that's what you were gonna say right off the bat.
Dude, I would be loving that. I'll be all about that.
Ishii Ishii was gonna be my pick. I just don't know how shocking that is or elevating. The only way it is like if it's like he goes through Saber and then he goes through like Ibushi.
You're right. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my god. Something crazy like that, but
I think as far as younger kind of guys, I think Evil and Sonata are two guys that if they want to elevate them.
Sonata like made it to to the
That's right.
semis last year.
That wouldn't really be a surprise, yeah.
And him and Evil have both had successes. I think he's talking more along the lines of like, a Hanare.
Yeah.
Or a Dave Finlay, which would be...
Hey, what about Juice?
Juice did well last year. He made it to the semifinals.
He did?
He got knocked out by Tanahashi. I think he was in the semis.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't...
Yeah. But you know what? Dave Finlay would be like pretty shocking.
Yeah.
That would be shocking. Like that'd be like, holy crap. And that would really elevate him. So maybe that'd be another guy to think about.
Yeah.
Most of my picks, to be honest with you, that I think like could really use it are guys that like a Shingo or the ticking time Hiromu.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that I would like to see elevated are still young lions.
Yeah.
And they're not ready.
And speaking of Hiromu, we did have a question from a Reddit user. Why did you do that, bro? Since Hiromu is getting close to 1,000% recovery, when would be the ideal place for his in-ring return?
Well, Best of the Super Juniors is in May. We're maybe the Madison Square Garden show.
And there was actually a interesting tweet from Chris Charlton, who was trying to analyze Hiromu's comeback. Here he goes. So this is from our buddy Chris Charlton at RaisinJP on Twitter. He says, if Hiromu Takahashi is applying some kind of scientific method to his recovery rate, and if he maintains the same pace of roughly 3% recovery per day, he will reach his 1,000% goal in the first week of March.
Yeah. Then he would re-debut at the anniversary show.
That, or he could debut in the New Japan Cup.
Oh yeah, but then see, I feel like he's gonna re-debut and then have his first match later.
Gotcha.
That's what I think.
Gotcha.
So it's like he could re-debut, yeah, like at the New Japan Cup or re-debut at the anniversary show, and then after that so maybe he makes his in-ring debut at the Madison Square Garden show.
That would be awesome.
I don't know. That seems like a likely timeline.
Yeah. I mean, either that or Best of the Super Juniors makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he doesn't come back till the Best of Super Juniors. That's another thing I thought about.
Right, for like the block announcements or like, they go through like all the B block names and then all of a sudden the last name is boom, Hiromu Takahashi.
Yep. And then he's back. That would be awesome.
Next question from our boy from LOP, Sir Sam. He says, feels like a new era in New Japan.
Does it ever?
Do you think that they are still setting themselves up for long-term success?
Well, I feel like they're handling the the losses that they just suffered pretty well, all things considered. But I don't know. I think they're trying to set themselves up for long-term success. I think like everything that they're doing has the future in mind, but I don't know if it's all a gamble. I don't know if it's going to pay off or not.
Yeah. The Ibushi signing is definitely a big thing that's going to set them up for success this year.
Yeah, we've been wondering about when they're going to sign somebody.
They're trying to get some new start. They're trying to get Jay White hot, and they're going to be trying to establish some people. So I think as of right now,
man's not taught.
I think they're still on the path to success, but they definitely need to sign some more people. They need to keep getting guys hot because they got a lot of big shows later this year that they got to get some butts in seats for. We got Reddit user Dookie Hammer. He says, with all the NJPW fans now backtracking and saying that Jay White is better than Kenny, or I'm glad that Kenny is gone, the reports about unhappy talent backstage are just rumors, and Kenny was never the face of the Western expansion. How long do you think it will take for NJPW fanboy buttholes to properly heal?
I'm so confused about this question. So which ones are the fanboys who are butthurt?
So
is it the fans who are trying to say that Jay White's better than Kenny, or the people that liked Kenny and are upset that he left? Like, which one is it?
So I'm saying, all these things he listed are I guess he's seeing New Japan fans saying this, that Jay White's better than Kenny. He's seeing people saying that they're glad that Kenny is gone.
Are you seeing this, Jeremy?
No. That's why when I got this question, I was like, what New Japan fans are saying this?
I mean, I'm going to have to defer to you because you maintain our online presence. I don't know. I mean, okay, well, let's just address a couple things. Jay White's not better than Kenny. You might be glad Kenny's gone, but you are in the vast minority if you feel that way. I'm sorry. I think the majority of wrestling fans who are objective are not happy that Kenny is gone.
Yeah.
On many levels. And I'm not criticizing you if you didn't like Kenny, to each his own, but that's not the popular opinion. It's just not. The reports of unhappy backstage talents being rumors, they probably weren't. They came from a pretty reputable source. And then Kenny was definitely the face of the Western expansion. So all of these statements are pretty much incorrect. I think they're all ludicrous statements from what I'm hearing. The other thing, though, is I don't know how many people are actually saying them because I've never heard anyone saying this sort of thing.
Right, yeah. Dookie Hammer, we need to know, like, what forums, like, what sites are you on that you're seeing this stuff?
Who are you interacting with, bro?
Because, you need to stop. Yeah.
But I'm not sure which ones are the butthurt fans. Like, I could actually see fans on both sides of things being butthurt when it really comes down to it, whether it's, the people that are talking about how bad things have gotten now that See, that's the thing. I'm seeing people being like, things suck. Jay White's the champion now.
Say goodbye to great New Japan main events.
Yeah, Kenny's gone. The Western expansion has failed. See, I'm seeing the total opposite of these statements.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing is
same here.
People saying the opposite, and I think that those statements, while based in some truth, are pretty much incorrect. And I think anyone who feels this opposite way, I think these are just two extremes. And I always just say this, like, you never want to go too extreme. You want to be in the middle of the road. People are always like, oh, don't be middle of the road. But the thing is, there's a ditch on each side of the road. You go too far left, too far right, you're going to crash into a ditch. You want to stay on the road. And the truth of the matter is, Jay White's not better than Kenny, but he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And, Kenny's gone. I'm not glad about it, but we got to make the best that we possibly can now that he's gone, and I think they're trying to do that. Were people unhappy backstage? Possibly. Hopefully New Japan will try to correct that and make them happy. Kenny was definitely the face of the Western expansion. In some sense, you could actually say that AEW is expanding into the West and furthering what New Japan was trying to do, and that might be problematic for New Japan going forward.
Yeah.
But they got to build a new face, which is what they're trying to do with Jay White, what they're trying to do with the Bullet Club. So I think fanboys on both sides of the fence, need to just chill and like enjoy the product for what it is and what's happening, and put some faith in Gato, man. This guy's never let you down before. Like, why is he going to let you down now?
Yeah, I'm sure in that little notebook of his, Gato has some master plans that's going to really, shake some things up this year and have us another great year. I mean, look at the New Japan Cup. It's getting ready to be probably one of the best New Japan Cups that we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, guys. I mean, I miss the Elite. They have left a pretty big hole, but that hole creates opportunity for lots of guys. And just because the guys that are getting the opportunities aren't who you love as a fan doesn't mean that the product is ruined or it's unwatchable or anything. Things are going pretty good, and there's every likelihood it's going to get better because New Japan always delivers.
Yeah. And the Jay White Tana match, you gave that 4.5, right?
I did, but no one else did.
I gave it 4.5.
No one else other than you and me.
Guess who else gave it 4.5?
Oh, Dave Meltzer did.
Big
right?
Dave.
Yeah.
Uncle Dave.
But people are saying he's crazy for that.
Yeah.
I think he's crazy a lot of the time too. I thought it was 4.5. I really did. But
so did I.
A lot of people thought it was not as good as that, but I love that match. And that's a match, to answer a question earlier, what's a match that you liked that isn't getting a lot of praise? I'm like, I really like that Jay White and Tanahashi match.
yeah.
And I don't really go to bat for Jay White matches like that.
Me either.
I usually be like, it's pretty good. But I thought that was one of his 3 best matches, along with the Juice and the Okada match. So
yeah. Next up, MSG tickets on the secondary market. So I've been seeing a lot of talk about there being a lot of tickets for the MSG show on the secondary market, low ticket prices, people trying to offload their MSG tickets. What are your thoughts about this and kind of the potential of what's to come for this MSG show?
If people are trying to sell off their tickets and the ticket's not as hot as it had previously been, that's a key indicator that there's a problem. Whether it be people that are upset about the prospects of having to watch Jay White be in a title match, whether it be people who were fans of the Elite and were anticipating seeing the Bucks and Cody and Kenny and Hangman, and now they're not. I think that those are all factors. I think the idea that Ring of Honor hasn't really held up its end of the bargain in the sense of like creating top stars, top level draws, and doing things that were compelling enough to entice people to stay around for the show. A lot of people bought these tickets impulsively because it was history. It was New Japan in the Garden. It was, this feeling that there was going to be an alternative and kind of sticking it to Vince and all that. But now all of a sudden there's AEW. Now all of a sudden there's this other big show that people really, really want to go to. And there's something that's hotter right now in the West. And guys, don't get it twisted. Like, we love New Japan. We're passionate about it. But like, if you go on the internet, everything's about AEW right now. Like, that is what's hot. And it's really not this show. Like for whatever reason, it does feel like a lot of fan interest and hype has just kind of dwindled from this show.
Yeah. And, I still think that there are some great matches that New Japan can put on this MSG show.
I think the show's going to be fantastic.
To help turn things around.
If it's not fantastic, then it's a huge misstep on their part. It needs to be fantastic.
And I think it will, too. There's a lot of key talent that's still on both rosters, and I think there's a lot of great matches that they can put on that people are kind of overlooking. And yes, we're probably not going to get a full card until after the New Japan Cup, which kind of stinks. And, New Japan's been doing that with their U.S. shows to kind of wait, right before to kind of announce the full card. But, at the end of the day, I think, people they're upset with Jay White as champion and Jay White being in the main event. They're upset about no Kenny, no Bucks, no Cody, no Hangman Page, Skrull will be there, but
Well, see, and that's hard for me to kind of relate to, because when I bought these tickets, I didn't buy them anticipating seeing the Elite. I bought it wanting to see Tomohiro Ishii and to see Goto and to see Okada. Like, that's really why I was like, oh, New Japan's coming. Mm-hmm. Not to say that those guys weren't part of New Japan, but they've always been, to me, seen as like, an extension of Ring of Honor, and they're the Western guys. Like, yeah, they're New Japan, but we see them here all the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That wasn't really the enticing thing. And I also kind of knew that we've been speculating all year about where they're going, and I had a feeling it probably wasn't going to be with New Japan. So it wasn't like I bought my MSG tickets thinking we were seeing the Elite there. I really didn't think that. And I mean, there's a lot of key indicators at the time that the only one we'd be seeing was Marty, and maybe things could have shook out differently. But I always thought if they did end up being on the show, it would just be a bonus.
Yeah.
It was never my anticipation. So, and we're New Japan fans. So the fact that those guys are gone, but we're still getting, hypothetically, hopefully, an authentic New Japan presentation, along with Ring of Honor, I'm still enticed. I'm still intrigued. But I could see why people who are like diehard Bullet Club, card-carrying members, elite, Too Sweet member people, those kinds of guys, like, I get it. You might be pissed that you bought a ticket and this show's not going to be what you thought it might potentially be. But I also think that there's a possibility that once the cards get announced, it might turn things around because we still don't know what we're getting.
Right, and that's that's one of the things we all bought tickets to this thing blind. They didn't announce anything. There was no expectations. I mean, the two guys that have been on all the advertisements so far have been Okada and Marty Scurll. So,
are we getting Okada Marty Scurll too?
We could be
205.
But yeah, I think that New Japan's they're gonna pull this out on their end, and they're gonna have some great matches. All right, so next thing we have here, we had some championship matches announced for the anniversary show. We kind of touched on it earlier, but it was made official that Taiji Ishimori will be defending the Junior Heavyweight Championship against Jushin Thunder Liger, and LIJ Shingo and Bushi will be defending their junior tag titles against Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo, and that's happening March 6th at the anniversary show. We have a question here from Twitter user Aaron Puro. He says, has an NJPW heavyweight ever dropped down to junior?
Not that I know of. Yeah, I really can't even remember a time historically where they have ever done that. Now, you know me, and I want this Ishii junior title run so badly. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There is a weight limit, but I can't remember, what it is.
I think it was 225 was the weight limit. So he says, according to NJPW 1972, here are some wrestlers weighing less than Shingo, who's listed at 96 kilos. Owens, Finley, Yujiro, Ibushi, Tama, Ospreay, and Tsuji. So clearly weights listed on the site are not official, because I don't see any of those wrestlers even being considered to be eligible to wrestle in the best of the Super Juniors. Would any of those guys interest you in an angle where they work to get in shape and make the weight limit? Personally, I would love to see Finley, Chase, Tama, or Yujiro do it, as it would add some more talent to that class.
Well, most of the guys that you listed are former juniors. Owens was, Yujiro definitely was, Ibushi was, Ospreay was. I'm trying to remember. I think Tama was as well. I know Finley maybe Finley was. I don't think he was. But yeah, I mean, the majority of the guys you're listing did compete in the junior division. I would love to see a storyline where Owens tried to make weight and got back down to junior. But with that being said, he'd have to actually get in shape because he's out of shape.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Owens would be, for me, the one guy I would love to see go back to junior heavyweight.
No.
I mean, I think
Ishii.
No, for me it's Chase. I think he's such a great worker, and there's just not room for him to truly be spotlighted in the heavyweight division. I think we need stars in the junior division, and I think with his skill set, he could easily be a top star in as a junior heavyweight.
Also, Zack Sabre obviously is as small or smaller than most of these guys, and probably already makes the weight limit for junior right now.
Yeah.
So that's another one to kind of think about.
So that wraps that up. Next up, did you see the tweet with the Valentine's tweet for Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi?
I did.
Yeah, so he tweeted out a photo of himself with Kota Ibushi with the caption, "Happy Valentine, I'm always thinking about you." And so, as we talked about earlier, Ibushi is going to be staying with New Japan Pro Wrestling until 2021. And although Omega's AEW contract does allow him to work for New Japan on occasion, it's possible that we could see Ibushi show up at AEW at some point, as Omega kind of mentioned in Wrestling Observer Radio last week. And he said, absolutely, by all means, we would love to use Kota. I wish he was here all the time. He would be the perfect roommate if he liked America. I'm probably going to relocate to America as well. He actually has a wrestling school now. Yeah, he's got a wrestling school in Japan. We're going to be supportive of that. He has a couple of commitments of that as of now, but again, the door is wide open.
I think it's interesting where he said that he's thinking about him all the time, where in a backstage segment they had asked Kota Ibushi what he thought about Kenny Omega, and he's like, well, Kenny, I'm really not thinking about him anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that this hypothetically could be a response to that statement.
Yeah.
You know, Kota says, I'm not thinking about you anymore, and Kenny's like, you're always on my mind. I'm always thinking about you. So very interesting stuff there.
Then we had Chris Jericho was on Wrestling Observer Radio this weekend talking about All Elite Wrestling and had some talks about New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was very critical on New Japan about releasing their cards before more than a week or a few days before a show coming out, and kind of the size buildings that they chose to run during the first few U.S. shows. Talked about some contract negotiation stuff, and he talked about the 6 guys that he would like to face in New Japan in the future: Tanahashi, Okada, Ishii, Ibushi,
Jay White.
Yeah. Well, he had like
listed them last.
Yeah, he had Jay White and Ishii kind of like last. Ospreay was another guy. So yeah, so Jericho's definitely planning. He really wants to continue to work for New Japan. Him and Kenny, they have the clause where they can work for New Japan. So it's all it's all in Gato's and Harold May's court now. If they're going to utilize those guys.
Yeah, definitely.
So we had some more visa issues for New Japan wrestlers. Visa issues forced Evil to miss a show for Pro Wrestling Force. This was a date that was set up for Evil by Michael Elgin. Evil was going in town early to kind of meet with some friends and family, but was stopped and sent back because he didn't have the right visa. So more visa issues for New Japan. So hopefully that's all settled for MSG.
Well, we also had visa issues on the other side of the pond where PCO tweeted that he wasn't on the New Japan Ring of Honor Rising shows later this month because he couldn't get a visa for Japan in time. So people need to freak out on Ring of Honor not getting their visa. When did they put these in?
Yeah,
they need to cancel the show is what they need to do.
Yeah. Speaking, Jericho was saying that they should have canceled the shows.
Oh, he thought so?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor has announced Jay Lethal versus Matt Taven for the Ring of Honor title. Mark and Jay Briscoe versus PCO and Brody King for the tag titles. You want to change your tag title predictions there, Jeremy?
They could always make it a triple threat.
All right.
They could always make it a triple threat.
Marty Scurll versus Kenny King and Roosh versus Bandito, which that sounds awesome, for the March 15th, 17th anniversary pay-per-view at Sam's Town in Las Vegas. And then finally, the free match of the week is the chain death match between Hiroyoshi Tenzan and Takashi Iizuka from October 13th, 2008. And that match gets the Young Boy Double Juice recommendation.
I have not seen this match. I'll have to check this out.
Yeah, I don't know of any other chain matches in New Japan history. So, very rarely do we get the the big gimmick, whether it's a cage or a chain or whatever, a strap match, bull rope match. Very rarely we get that sort of stuff. So that one's worth actually checking out. But, you kind of have to know the history between Tenzan and Iizuka to but that's a good pick with what's coming up.
Yeah, and it's probably worth watching before the big retirement match to kind of understand more of the backstory between those guys.
Yeah.
So, that's going to wrap things up for this week. Next week, we'll be back with a review of the New Japan Road and a review of Honor Rising. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, I am at Jeremy L. Donovan. The show is at KI Strong Style. You can also follow us at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can also join us in the Wrestling Squared Circle. Facebook.com/groups/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Monday, we have the Omega Luke Podcast. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland and our podcast dedicated to independent pro wrestling. Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Thursdays, we have Wilfred Watches, and on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite. I made a special guest run-in on this week's episode of All Things Elite that aired this past Saturday, so check that out. Don't forget to check out our Pro Wrestling Tees, prowrestlingtees.com/social suplex. Right now, they have their President's Day sale going on. You can get 20% off using the promo code PREZ. So go ahead and support us and get those Keeping It Strong Style t-shirts. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.